The tax collector. The tavern was resting between worlds when the knock came. Not the loose, friendly knock of a traveler, not the hurried rhythm of someone escaping in the rain. This knock was precise, measured, the kind made by a person who believes everything can be counted if they insist hard enough. The tavern cat lifted his head from his place by the hearth before I even reached the door. His tail flicked once, slow and judgmental, as if he'd already disapproved of whoever stood outside. I opened the door to a man wrapped in dark parchment-colored robes, spectacles perched on his nose, a ledger tucked tightly beneath his arm. Behind him stretched the fantasy city of Carthmere, all spires and drifting lights humming in the evening air. He stepped inside and immediately frowned. His eyes scanned the room as though numbers might be hiding in the corners. The cat watched him with open suspicion. "I am a tax collector," the man announced, "and I require a census. How many people live in this tavern?" The cat gave a small, unimpressed chirp and curled tighter by the fire. I closed the door gently and smiled. "That," I said, "is a more complicated question than it sounds." The collector snapped open his ledger. "I will wait," he replied. "Please provide a number." Alex glanced at me from the far end of the bar and quietly began polishing a glass that was already spotless. The cat rose, stretched with theatrical slowness, and leapt onto the counter between us and the collector. He sat squarely on the open ledger. The collector stared. "Excuse me?" The cat blinked, unmoving. I scratched gently behind his ears. "He dislikes being counted," I said calmly. "Makes him feel ordinary." The collector cleared his throat and shifted his book an inch to the side. The cat followed and sat on it again. I leaned against the bar. "You see," I said softly, "people don't exactly live here in the way you're thinking." His pen hovered impatiently above the page. "Then explain." And so I told him a story. "There is a woman," I began, "who visits every winter. She sits by this fire and remembers laughter she once thought she'd lost forever." The cat padded across the counter and settled into my arms, purring like a quiet engine. The sound filled the pause between words. "She stays for 3 nights," I continued. "When she leaves, she carries warmth with her again. Does she live here?" The collector hesitated. "Temporarily." I nodded. "There is a young man who once arrived with nothing but a broken promise. Sitting at this bar, he learned promises can be rebuilt. He left at dawn, yet every time he keeps his word, a part of that lesson still lives here." The collector's pen slowed. "And there are travelers who rest here for only an hour," I said. "They warm their hands, speak fears aloud, leave lighter than when they arrived. Their stories linger in the wood and the air." The cat's purring deepened, steady as the fire. "If you count those who've left their stories," I said gently, "the number becomes very large indeed." The collector shut his ledger halfway. "That is poetic," he said, "but I require a practical answer. How many residents?" Alex placed a warm mug before him. Steam curled upward. The collector took a cautious sip. His shoulders dropped. The cat hopped down and wound around his boots, approving of the warmth, if not the man. He reluctantly bent to scratch behind the cat's ears. The purring resumed, louder. I spoke softly. The tavern is a harbor, I said. Harbors do not own ships. They shelter them, repair them, let them go. The fire sighed. If you must count residents, I continued, you may count me and Alex. We tend the hearth. We keep the doors open. The cat leapt back onto the bar and stared at the collector expectantly. And him, I added. The collector looked around for the first time. He seemed to notice the room's fullness, the invisible presence of every traveler who ever rested here. The space felt inhabited, but in a way numbers struggle to hold. He opened his ledger slowly. Why build a place like this, he asked. A tavern that resists measurement. The cat placed one paw directly on the page. I smiled faintly. Because the world loves counting, I said. Coins, days, successes, failures, but it rarely counts rest or healing or the quiet moment when a person decides to keep going. I gestured to the hearth. This tavern exists to hold those moments. Here, travelers are not totals. They are simply human. Alex nodded softly. The collector traced the ledger's edge. And that has value? You came to assign a number, I said gently, but you stayed for warmth. Something in you needed this place long before your ledger did. He looked at his empty cup in mild surprise. The cat, satisfied, curled beside it. Outside, Carthmere shimmered under deepening night. The collector closed his ledger. Well, one thing's for sure, I can't write infinity, he murmured. No, I agreed, but you can write 3. He blinked. The caretakers, I said, the ones who keep the fire burning. The cat flicked his tail, accepting the promotion. Let the rest remain uncounted. Some things are meant to be experienced, not totaled. The collector considered this. Slowly he wrote the number 3. The scratch of pen on paper felt ceremonial. He stood and gave a small, respectful nod. Some places, he said quietly, are wiser left unmeasured. I walked him to the door. Cool city air slipped inside. Thank you, he added shyly. You're welcome, I said. Travel safely. When the door closed, the tavern settled. The cat returned to the hearth, circling twice before lying down, pleased with his administrative victory. Alex smiled faintly. 3 residents, he said. For the paperwork, I replied, but in truth, I looked around the tavern, breathing room. More than we could ever count. Some places are not meant to be measured. Some lives cannot be reduced to lines in a ledger. Tonight, if the world has been counting you too closely, remember this. You are more than any total assigned to you. The fire is warm. The door is closed, and you do not need to be counted to belong. Good night, my friend.